August 19, 1910, the Japanese colonialism had taken into action, ultimately meaning that the Koreans were deprived of their identity, their language, their names, leading to their ethnic pride being damaged, while simultaneously living under the Japanese rule in unjustifiable and brutal conditions. Such include an estimate of 4 million Korean laborers involuntarily being brought to Japan due to the expansion of the war that had spread across Southeast Asia. These Koreans were also the soldiers at the front, forced into labors in factories and mines without any sort of compensation or food. As for the women, thousands of Korean women were forcibly taken from their homes and sent to these camps called comfort stations to be comfort women, essentially sexual slaves for the Japanese soldiers. Historians actually estimate that approximately 200,000 women were forced to serve into sexual slavery, and around 80% of those comfort women were Korean. 30% of these comfort women had survived after the war, yet were hidden from the international community, as their sufferings were not acknowledged to the public. The welfare of the Korean people were not even a primary or a secondary concern to the Japanese, and were treated as though their life was a commodity.
해주고 싶은 거는 내 인생을 망쳤으니까 망쳐준 그 사람들한테 사죄받고 싶은 것이 내 소원이고 사죄를 받는다고 고쳐지는 건 아니지만 그래도 한이 조금이나마 풀리니까
우리 아버지도 집에서 알아서 듣지 않고 이런 사람들이 끌어나가는 것이 내가 이게 가슴이
할머니들이 처음에는 당신들이 끌려가서 당한 성폭력이 인권 침해인지 몰랐어요. 어떻게 생각하냐면 그런 운명이라고 생각했는데 나는 그런 운명을 타고난 여성인가 보다.
이제 한일 간의 공동의 이익과 공동의 안전과 공동의 번영을 모색하는 새로운 시대에 접어들었는 것입니다. 양국은 비단 지리적으로 가깝다거나 역사적으로 깊은 관계에 있다는 것만이 아니라 극동에 있는 같은 자유국가로서 공동 운명의 길을 걷고 있는 것입니다. 이 공동의 관계는 고해 평등의 관계로 상호 협력의 관계이며 또한 상호 보완의 관계입니다. 국민들 중에 한일교 정상화가 되면 우리는 또다시 일본의 침략을 당한다고 주장하는 사람이 있지만 이러한 열등의식은 깨끗이 버려야 하는 동시에 이와 반대로 국교 정상화가 되면 당장에 우리가 큰 덕을 볼 것이라는 이러한 천박한 생각도 우리에게는 절대 금물인 것입니다.
On June 22, 1965, Seoul and Tokyo signed a historic treaty to normalize their relations and to settle a few of the lasting problems and traumatizing effects of the Japanese occupation. This treaty is known as the 1965 Korea-Japan Agreement, or the Treaty of Basic Relations, also known as Hanyul Giwon-joya. The treaty was signed in Tokyo by Korean Foreign Minister Lee Tong-won and his Japanese counterpart Foreign Minister Shiina Etsusago under the governments of President Park Chung-hee and Prime Minister Eisaku Sato. In the treaty, it is stated that Japan will provide the Korean government with an economic cooperation fund. Japan provided the Korean government with an $845 million package, specifically $300 million in economic aid, $200 million in loans, $300 million in loans for private trusts, and $45 million for property claims. The economic aid was predominantly used and consumed in economic interests instead of compensation to the individuals who were victimized during the Japanese occupation. They were used instead for the construction of the Pohang Iron and Steel Company, construction of the Soyang Dam, construction of Gyeongbu Expressway, expansion of the telephone service, and bringing up more small businesses. The annual economic growth in manufacturing in Korea from 1910 to 1940 increased by 10%. The annual economic growth increased by 3.5%. The re-establishment of their diplomatic ties was the gateway for Korea to industrialize and modernize.
한일 기본조약의 결과로 도입된 배상금 및 차관은 당시 정권의 판단으로 경제발전 초기에 필요한 사회 인프라 및 산업재 생산 설비에 주로 투자가 되었습니다. 예를 들면 경제발전에 가장 광범위하게 사용되는 철강 제품을 생산하기 위하여 포항제철을 설립하였는데 그 결과 대한민국의 경제발전에 필요한 철강 제품을 수입에 의존하지 않고 국내에서 생산하여 낮은 가격에 안정적으로 공급할 수가 있었습니다. 그러므로 본 조약의 결과로 도입된 배상금과 차관이 인프라 및 산업 설비에 투자됨으로써 과거 50년간 대한민국의 경제 발전을 이루는데 중요한 토대가 되었다고 볼 수 있습니다. 위에서 언급한 인프라 및 산업재 생산 설비는 대규모 투자가 필요하나 일단 한번 투자가 이루어지면 장기간에 걸쳐 그 혜택을 볼 수 있습니다. 배상금 및 차관이 개인에게 주었을 경우나 아예 조약이 없었다면을 가정하는 것은 매우 많은 가설을 포함해야 하는 연구 과제입니다. 다만 당시의 상황에서 인프라 투자가 지연되었거나 훨씬 적은 규모로 이루어졌다면 경제발전 속도가 늦어졌을 가능성이 있습니다.
On the other hand, it does not acknowledge and address a vital topic that continues to be a highly divisive argument in the 21st century, and it's the issue of comfort women. It is clear that during the process of the signing of the treaty, Japan was opposed to any kind of language that apologized for the colonial rule in Korea. The compromise between the two countries has been resolved, however, the issue of individual rights and their compensation has not.
The topic of human rights violations, especially the comfort woman issue, is very complicated. Japan claims that this 1965 treaty normalized diplomatic relations and settled all legal issues from the colonial rule in the form of economic aid to the then Park Chung-hee administration. Ever since then, they've been refusing to pay reparations for the Korean individuals.
This treaty wasn't successful of acknowledging the human rights violations. Many do believe that without this treaty, the Korean economy wouldn't be even near to where it is right now. Some claim that Korea desperately needed the economic aid and money from Japan to help the country out of poverty due to its struggling state after the Korean War. The former president Park Chung-hee has a mixed legacy within his country. Some see Park as a brutal dictator who ruled with an iron fist. Others see him as a hero of economic development. He was a dominant figure who played a large part, who lifted South Korea from poverty and shifted his focus to export-oriented industrialization, knowing that unlike its neighbor in the north, South Korea was not blessed with natural resources. He came into power and ruled the country during a very crucial transition, transforming the entire country into an economic powerhouse. Many who hail Park Chung-hee as a father of phenomenal economic development believe that the treaty had served the country many economic benefits. While this treaty was a compromise of the damages and traumatizing effects of the Japanese colonial rule, and South Korea was provided aid during a very crucial time, the issue of comfort women still leaves doors for discussion and perhaps even an apology.